Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about the Axminster Trade AT25AFS air filter. I'm going to be going over the unboxing, assembly, fixings and installation of this air filtration system, as well as its functions and performance. If you find this video useful, then please click that like button and consider subscribing. Please feel free to leave any comments. And if you watch till the end, there is some bonus safety advice as well, so keep watching and enjoy. So as ever, from Axminster, their stuff always comes really well packaged, nice sturdy box, nylon packing straps, and on the top there just plastic bag with the instructions, remote control and a battery, and we'll have a look at that a little bit later. And then plenty of polystyrene just to help protect it in transit. And just be very careful, it weighs 25 kilos this thing. Don't throw the box away, because I'll show a little use for that in a while. And then on the side there, so you've got another bag with all the sort of nuts and bolts, fixture and fittings, which we'll talk about. And then I'm just putting a bit of cardboard down just to protect it from the concrete floor. That's the back end coming off. And then on the front end, just be careful, I was sort of leaning on that, the filter comes enclosed in a sort of cardboard frame, which don't take it off. So some measurements: 77 centimeters long, 61 wide with a height of 31 centimeters, and the eye bolts on top are an M10 thread with outside and inside diameters there, and as I said, 25 kilos in weight. So get some help, I did, and be careful. So yeah, the remote control, it's a sort of old-fashioned 1970s looking thing, I think, with a little aerial on top. It's not the one that's in the picture on the website. Seems to, I don't know whether this is an older or a newer model. It says 2020 on the back of the machine. Anyway, so the fixture and fittings, you've got some rubber feet in the bottom left corner there, or you've got some flange brackets at the top if you want to find a different way of fixing this up. If you're just going to seat it on a shelf, then obviously the rubber feet will come in handy. I'm just screwing on those eye bolts, and I'm going to suspend this one. Now the other thing to remember is on the back there's a little warning sign, and I'll show you that up close. And that's really important, as you'll see in a minute, because that's just telling you that before you install this, just make sure you take the outer and inner air filters off, because there are some styrofoam blocks inside. Now I would argue this is the front of the machine, because this is where the air is drawn into. So that's the first filter off, second one out, and then if you reach inside, there's just a couple of styrofoam blocks. I'm not really sure what they're doing actually, because they were just rattling around, but anyway, they need to come out. And then the inner filter is the sort of 1 micron filter, which should take away about 86% of 1 micron particles. And then on the outside, don't be tempted to take this cardboard sort of lattice off, as it's supposed to stay on. And that's the electrostatic outer filter, and that'll take away about 98% particles bigger than 5 microns. And there's two little clip brackets that help secure those in. So I'm just attaching some chains to my eye bolts, and basically I've just got some 4mm chain with some quick link hoops in the middle attached to the eye bolts that come, and I'll put some links up to where I got these from. This is only one way of doing it, so please remember it's not the only way of doing it. I just felt that the chain was a little bit more substantial than the cable, and make sure that it can take the weight. Now the measurements for attaching up into the ceiling I've listed there. And then, as I mentioned before, don't throw the box away, because actually the box isn't that much bigger than the unit itself, and so I was just using it to kind of just look at where I thought it's going to sit nicely. And then once you've decided where it's going to go, you can pop your attachments in, and I'm just using some 10mm diameter storage hooks. There is about 75mm in length, pre-drilled just to not split the rafters, and then screw these in, just using a screwdriver there to get the leverage. And as I mentioned before, really important to get all the things all set up and get some help. So as I mentioned, this thing weighs 25 kilos, so if you're not up to it, then do get some help. And here I've got some great help hooking those chains just sort of on the first links initially until we've got it suspended. And then once you're in this position, you can make all your final adjustments as to how or low you want it, and also to level it off. My workshop roof sort of slopes in from the centre, so it's higher in the middle than it is at the sides. And here I'm just raising it sequentially in from one corner to the next, just to get it to the height that I want. Now some additional specs. This air filtration system has a 150 watt motor powered off 230 volts. It's got 3 air speeds equivalent to 720, 900 and 1200 meters cubed per hour, 3 timer periods, and it says that it's suitable for a maximum room volume of 300 meters cubed. And we'll go into that in a bit more detail towards the end of this video. I'm not sure I would use this machine in a 300 meter cubed workshop. I'd either want a bigger one or more likely 2. And the other thing is where you put this. Again, it really does depend on how your workshop looks. In an ideal world, you'd have nothing in the rafters or the roof, and be bare walls all the way around, and you'd get really good air circulation. And a lot of advice on the internet tells you to put it along your longest wall, a third of the way along, and then that sets up a kind of airflow around the workshop to help it work properly. But in reality, I don't know about you, but my workshop's in my garage. I've got lots of kit and toys on one side, and then all my gear on the other. So really it's about whatever works for you, and going from there. So yeah, just checking that that's level, happy with that. The cable, again, it's only 1.9 meters long, so it's not ideal, and in the instructions there's a little bit there about using an extension cord, etc. So what I consider the back of the machine, just showing you here that you've got your 3-speed, your on-off button, your 3-speed settings, low, medium and high, and then along the top you've got 1 hour, 2 hour and 4 hour timer period. So when you click on there, the system will run for that length of time and then go off automatically, and that's certainly quite useful at the end of a day. Maybe leave it on for an hour or 2 with the doors to your workshop closed. And so here I'm just showing the remote control operation. And as you crank up between the different speed settings, there's a slight little quiver as that sort of initial inertia as it jumps up or indeed down. but that settles. It doesn't sit there rattling the whole time. So I haven't found a problem with that at all. And in terms of noise, well, it's a big machine. It does make some noise. The chances are when it's on, if you've got it on whilst you're doing your sanding, the chances are you may or may not have ear defenders on. And remember, you should certainly have your dust extraction on as well, so the workshops get pretty noisy. And it's important to take precautions. So again, here I get a little bit more realistic impression of the sound it makes. And then here I just want to try and give you a bit of, or get a sense of how it performs. I'm not sure this first demonstration is the best. Just chucking a bit of dust up there, so you can see even on the lowest setting it will suck in even the biggest shavings. And again, as I sort of try and demonstrate, not the best camera angle, I'm trying to film and sprinkle at the same time, but this is on the lowest setting. And then if I crank it up through medium up to the high speed setting, so this is shifting at 1200 meters cubed of air per hour, and if I just try and demonstrate again, so you can see that's quite the draft. And remember, this isn't, air filter systems aren't really designed for picking up these big shavings. These aren't going to be floating around in the air. This is for those microscopic, much more dangerous particles. Now, in terms of working out the right air filter system for your workshop, there's a lot of information out there on the internet, and basically my take on it is, if you calculate the volume of your workshop, so the length, width and height of your workshop, times that by the number of circulations per hour that you want, and in an ideal world that's anywhere from 6 to 8 complete circulations per hour. And then the other thing you've got to figure into this, which some people don't, is a loss coefficient based on the fact that the performance of your air filtration system is slightly compromised by the actual filters on it, and so that can be anything from a sort of 25 to 40% drop in performance. So you need to figure that into the equation, and divide that by 60, and that will give you the required performance that you need in meters cubed per minute. So as an example, my workshop is approximately 86 meters cubed in volume, and I would like 8 complete air exchanges per hour, and figuring in that loss coefficient of 1.3, take all of that, divide it by 60, and that will give me a value of 14.9 meters cubed per minute. So looking at the 3 speed settings, low, medium and high, you can see that on the low setting, that produces an air movement of 720 meters cubed per hour. Divide that by 60, and that gives you an air movement value of 12 meters cubed per minute. So it's not quite the 15 that I need, so on that low setting I won't quite get the 8 complete air exchanges that I would like. However, on the medium and high settings, I definitely will just get the 8 complete air exchanges on the medium setting, and I should get more than that on the high setting. Now, another way of looking at that is, if you take my workshop, 86 meters cubed in volume, times that by the loss coefficient of 1.3, and you get 112 meters cubed. Then on those 3 settings of low, medium and high, you can see that on the low setting I'm going to get 6.4 complete air exchanges per hour. On the medium I'll get my 8, and on the high I'm going to get 10.7. Or alternatively, you can look at it as how long for one complete air exchange on the different settings. So on the low it'd be 9.3 minutes, on the medium setting it would be 7.4 minutes, and on the highest setting I'll get one complete air exchange in 5.6 minutes. So that's another way of working out what you would have in your particular workshop. So I hope that's been helpful. So as promised, here's some bonus safety advice which I said I would include at the end of this video. So thanks for getting this far. Now, I'm sure most of you, when you're working at a height, wouldn't use one of these, and instead you'd be much more sensible and use one of these, so that you don't end up having to get one of these, sustaining an injury like this, so that you end up in one of these for 6 weeks. So unlike me, please be careful out there, and if you found this video useful, then please click that like button and consider subscribing. Feel free to leave any comments, and please check out some of my other videos. My name's Kim, this is OneLifeDesigns. Stay safe.